All right, let's talk about something that kind of flips our whole idea of crime completely upside down. It's called state crime, and it's all about what happens when the very entity that's supposed to protect us, the state, is the one doing the harm.
Just take a look at this number for a second. 262 million. It's almost impossible to wrap your head around, right? But that's the staggering estimate of how many people were killed by their own governments just in the 20th century. We're not talking about street crime here. This is something else entirely. This is crime coming from the absolute highest seats of power.
And that really gets to the heart of what we're digging into today. I mean, think about it. The state is the one that writes the laws. It controls the police, it runs the courts. So what happens when that very same state is the criminal? Who holds them accountable?
Okay, so before we go any further, let's get a really clear definition. What are we actually talking about when we say state crime?
So here's the formal sociological definition from Green and Ward. They call it illegal or deviant activities perpetrated by or with the complicity of state agencies. Now that's a mouthful, but the key words here are illegal or deviant. It's not just about breaking the law. It also includes stuff that's just plain wrong, done either directly by the state or with the state kind of looking the other way and letting it happen. That difference is huge because it covers both direct action and letting bad things happen on your watch.
And this is where you can really see the massive difference between state crime and, regular street crime. Street crime, that's usually one person, maybe a small group. But state crime, we're talking on a massive scale, affecting entire populations. And the one responsible isn't some random citizen. It's the government, its officials, its agencies. And that's why accountability is such a nightmare. A state can just rewrite the rules and say, hey, what we did was totally legal. That forces the world to turn to international law, which, let's be honest, states are pretty good at getting around.
So to help us get a better handle on this pretty huge topic, sociologist Eugene McClellan broke state crime down into 4 main types.
Okay, let's run through them. First up, you've got political crimes. Think corruption, censoring the press, rigging elections, that kind of thing. Then there are crimes by security forces. This is the really brutal stuff. Genocide, torture, making dissidents just disappear. The third type is economic crimes. A classic example here is something like the Chernobyl disaster, where state-approved safety violations led to catastrophe. And finally, you have social and cultural crimes, like institutional racism or the deliberate destruction of native cultures.
And all this leads to a really chilling question. I mean, how do these massive atrocities actually happen? Because it's usually not monsters carrying them out. It's ordinary people, like you and me. So how do normal people get roped into doing such extraordinarily evil things?
Well, there's a model called crimes of obedience, and it basically breaks it down into 3 terrifyingly simple steps. Step 1 is authorization. People are just told, hey, you're following orders. Your personal moral compass gets replaced by a duty to obey. Then comes step 2, dehumanization. The victims are painted as something less than human. Vermin, cockroaches, you name it. And once they're not people anymore, your moral rules don't apply to them. And the final step is routinization. The horror becomes a job. It's just paperwork, logistics. It becomes a routine, detached, bureaucratic task. Just another day at the office.
But it gets even more disturbing. The sociologist Zygmunt Bauman looked at the Holocaust and came to a shocking conclusion. He said it wasn't some barbarian breakdown of civilization. No, he argued it was actually a consequence of modern society. All the things we associate with progress, like efficiency, bureaucracy, a complex division of labor, he said those were the very tools that made industrial-scale murder possible.
And this quote just hits it home. It was an industrial, factory method of killing. Think about that. The Holocaust was set up just like a modern factory assembly line. One person schedules the trains, another person handles the paperwork, another one guards the gate. Everyone has a tiny specialized job, and because of that division of labor, no single person feels the full moral weight of what they're doing. The end product is just death.
So, okay, the crime happens. What's next? Well, states almost never just come out and say, yep, we did it, our bad. Instead, there's a pretty predictable playbook they follow to deny, deflect, and try to justify what they've done. Sociologist Stanley Cohen nailed this process, calling it the spiral of state denial. It's a 3-stage dance. Stage 1 is simple. It didn't happen. A flat-out, straight-faced denial. But when the evidence starts piling up and that's not believable anymore, they move to stage 2. Okay, if it did, it's actually something else. This is where a massacre becomes collateral damage or a political purge becomes a national security measure. And if they get backed into a corner, they hit you with stage 3. Even if it is what you say it is, it was justified. This is the last resort, arguing that their terrible actions were a necessary evil, all for the greater good.
Okay, so we've gone through the definitions, the categories, the psychology, but why does any of this academic stuff actually matter? What's the point of understanding all this?
Because it all comes down to one word: accountability. When we can spot these patterns, when we can see the types of crimes, understand how normal people are made to obey, and call out that spiral of denial while it's happening, we stop being helpless observers. Knowing this playbook is the absolute first step to actually being able to prevent these things from happening again, and to demand justice when they do.
And that leaves us with one final and really tough question. It's the core dilemma, really. If the state is the one that writes all the laws, who holds the state accountable?